Welcome. I was talking to a buddy of mine last week. His company had asked him, "We want to use AI to improve our business. So go make it happen." And he's a product manager. So he's stepping back and going, "Okay, what is it? What does that mean?" Because of all the fad. And it makes sense. Even traditional companies are looking into this and seeing if they can capture value from introducing AI within their business. How should traditional companies, non-technology companies, think about AI and how to introduce it? Does it make sense for their business, or is it just a fad? Right. So that's what the episode is about. Is the AI fit or a fad of your business? That's what we're going to talk about. Let's get started. So first, you have to ask: do you know the problem you're trying to solve? Have you identified the problem within your business that you're trying to solve? And second, do you know the solution that you're looking for? So examples are like e-commerce. You want to understand buying behavior. You might be like, okay, VJ, I don't know the problem I'm trying to solve. I don't have a problem per se, but I do want to look at AI and see, are there opportunities where I can use AI to improve the business that I'm not seeing clearly. Okay, fair enough. This episode is going to be like a primer, to arm you with the information so that you can look at the business with the AI lens and see if you can identify any areas of improvement, any areas that you can go and attack using AI. So first, I highly suggest you get a machine learning product manager, machine learning engineer, depends on the engineer, to work with you to understand the business and see where the opportunity is. The reason I'm saying you have to work with a machine learning engineer or product manager is they know what to look for. They know the data, the type of data that makes sense, the ideal type of data that makes sense, and they can help identify whether AI is suitable as a solution or not. But I understand, even before hiring an machine learning product manager engineer, is there a way I can kind of identify some of the areas? So this is going to be high level primer. You're armed with enough understanding of AI so that you can actually look at the business, whether you need to be looking at this at all. I'm going to try to do this without using fancy words, technical terms that just sort of get in the way. But I want to try to make it as simple to understand as possible. The old adage, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. I'm a big fan of that statement. So I'm going to try, but I'm going to sprinkle the terms in so that you can kind of associate these terms with what I'm trying to explain. Now, on that note, what's AI good at solving? What are the type of use cases that you can, like, broadly good at solving that you can think about? I can probably explain it in 3 broad categories of use cases that AI can attack. Number 1, I call this pattern recognition to gain insights. Right? So you have a bunch of data, whatever data you have, whether it's your logistics business to e-commerce to supply chain management, you name it. You have a bunch of data. By using pattern recognition, you want to gain some insights. You want to learn something. And there's vast amounts of data. And especially when the data is unstructured, that's even better, because machine learning, that's what it's designed to do, to consume unstructured data to make sense out of it. Pattern recognition to gain insights. Under this category, 3 subcategories. So subcategory number 1, you kind of don't know what you're looking for, but you have a lot of data. And I want to use examples to know what I mean. Like weather data, let's say. You have 100 years worth of weather data. You have all the data points like temperature, humidity, wind speed, atmospheric pressure, and location. And so you want to make sense out of this. So remember, I'm not talking about weather predictions. I'm just saying you have the data, you're trying to understand it. Right? Understand, is there any pattern into this data that you can gain some insights of it? In the weather data, an example would be, oh, interesting. I see a pattern. Every time there's an increase in clouds, there's rain follows. So that's a pattern you learned. You didn't ask it anything. You're not looking for anything. You're just gaining insight by looking at a pattern, looking at the data and making sense out of something. Another practical example is customer behavior analysis. So if you're an e-commerce site, you're trying to figure out, is there any patterns that you should know about what the customers are doing? How do they make these purchase decisions and so on? You don't really have a question. You just looking for a pattern. Geek alert. The term used is clustering. And it makes sense, right? You have a vast amounts of data. You want to cluster similar things, and you don't really know what those things are, right? And that's clustering. I'll stop using those terms. And the second subcategory, you know exactly what you're looking for. And let's go back to the weather for a second. For example, you might be wondering, show me cities that have year-round warm weather. You know what you're looking for. Now you're trying to ask the model a specific question you're trying to get out of it. So things like another better examples, I think, is this image recognition. Does this picture have a cat? Is this a dog? Is it a chair? Or even, another example is facial recognition. So, I have a Nest doorbell. It recognizes me versus my wife and my two sons. It'll say, Dylan at the door or VJ at the door, whatever the case is, right? Because it knows how to classify who the person is. Geek Alert, this is called classification. You're trying to classify based on the data, right? Classify a dog, a cat, and so on. Third subcategory is what's unusual in the data. What is an unusual pattern, right? So you're looking at the pattern, and they're all very similar, but there's this outlier. A good example of what's unusual is SETI, Search for Extra Intelligence. Vast amount of data based on the radio signals, and most of the data is very static, right? It's random, if you will. The anomaly would be something very different than all the data they gathered so far. Another one would be medical diagnosis. The model knows what the healthy lungs look like. So, and if there's anything out of ordinary, it identifies it. So it's looking for anomalies, if you will. Geek Alert. This is called anomaly detection. It's not that hard. So 3 subcategories under a broad category, which is pattern recognition to gain insights from your data. 3 subcategories. You don't know what you're looking for. You know exactly what you're looking for. And last, look for unusual things. So that's category number 1. Category number 2, predictions from insights. You want to make predictions based on your data. So it's like, what is likely to happen next problem, right? And great example, going back to the weather forecasting. This is because now you're making predictions. You're not only just trying to understand what's going on in relationship between cloudy day to rain. That's the first category. But given the last week worth of weather data, what's going to happen tomorrow? Another example would be like demand prediction, for e-commerce site. So based on historical transactions, what kind of demand should I expect in October versus February? You're asking the model to predict the demand. Sales forecasting is another one. So basically, statistical modeling, estimating probabilities. Geek Alert, I forgot. Third category, this one was a tough for me. I still don't quite like it, but I thought it'll be valuable regardless. I call it automations, actions, and decision making. I'm kind of grouping them together. So it's you've gaining insights on the first one, then you're making predictions based on those insights, and the third, what are you going to do with that prediction? You want to take action, right? So that's the automations, the decision making, and given what is likely to happen, what action should the AI take automatically, right? That's the automation piece of it. In other words, making decisions or taking actions without human intervention in real time. It's trying to make a decision on what to do based on finite set of possibilities of actions, if you will. And good example is, autonomous driving, right? So it's planning, right? So it's the model is trained. It knows there's this lot of different variables. It's trying to plan the route optimization. Remember what I said in the category number 1. You're trying to gain insights from data, but you don't really know what you're looking for. And then you've learned that, for example, let's say you've learned that every time someone buys a toothbrush, they're also buying a toothpaste. That's an insight you've gained. So now you could use that gained insights and you want to do something about it to increase your number of transactions, right? And that's what the recommendations would be now every time somebody adds toothbrush to their cart, it'll suggest, hey, do you want me to add the toothpaste itself? So that's a fantastic example. So you don't know what the relationship of all these different SKUs are, but the model sort of learns, and then you can take action on it. So that's the third category. And stock trading automation is another one. Autonomous driving, like I said, drones, and so on and so forth. I'll end it there. As I said, 3 broad categories. Pattern recognition to gain insights. You're trying to understand your data and seeing if there is a pattern, number 1. Number 2, and you want to use that information, and then you want to start making predictions. And the third, now you want to take actions and you automate some of the tasks like autonomous driving and so on. So those are the three categories. I hope that makes sense. I try to keep it as simple as possible. In the future episode, we'll talk about supervised learning, unsupervised, with all these terms, and how to, most importantly, apply, how to think about it for your business. Yeah. Ciao.